Welcome back, NFL fans. So today we have a video talking about Colts owner Jim Irsay's quotes about the former Colts quarterback Carson Wentz. And I've been wanting to make this video for about a week now, but just new stuff kept coming out, so I had to push it back. But we finally are here talking about the quotes that Jim Irsay had. And I've never heard an owner speak about a player this way, so I thought it was a very unique situation. The guy did not hold back whatsoever. And Jim Irsay's had moments where I guess he's been a bit outspoken in the past, but I've never seen anything like this. So I want to go through what he said at the owners' meetings. Jim Irsay, for those who don't know, is the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, and the Irsay family has owned the Colts since 1984, and Jim Irsay's had full control himself when his father passed away since 1997. So anyway, we're going to talk about it. We know Carson Wentz was traded for last offseason by the Colts. They gave up multiple picks to get him, including a first rounder. And then this offseason, they traded Carson Wentz to Washington. Now they just traded for Matt Ryan, so that era ends in 1 year, and Jim Irsay reflects on that. So anyway, we'll read the quotes first, then I'll react to it. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video, and let's get into it. So quote number one from Jim Irsay was, "I think the worst thing you can do is have a mistake and try to keep living with it going forward. For us, it was something we had to move away from as a franchise. It was very obvious." That's just the tip of the iceberg, which right there, I mean, that's still a bit of a lot to say about a player, but it gets worse. Quote number two was about the final week of the season, how the Colts played at Jacksonville. Jacksonville was a terrible team last year, as we know, and the Colts, if they won that game, would have been in the playoffs, but the Colts crapped the bed and did not win that game, and Carson Wentz played terribly. Anyway, he talks about that. No disrespect to Jacksonville, but I mean, they are the worst team in the league. You play well and hard for the first quarter or so, and they're looking to go to their locker room and clean it out. I've never seen anything like that in my life. You say, my God, there's something wrong here. It needs to be corrected. I think that we feel like we did. Your guy's got to pick you up and carry you through Jacksonville, Irsay said. He has to do it, not an option, has to. No excuses, no explanations. Wow. So yes, Carson Wentz did play terribly in that kind of do-or-die game for the Colts in the final week of the season. It was a 26-11 loss in a must-win situation at Jacksonville, and Carson Wentz, by the way, went 17 for 29 in that game, 185 passing yards, 58 completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and was sacked 6 times. Quote number three, and this was interesting, of course no names were said, but Irsay went on to say, "In having conversations with trusted veterans on the team, so to speak, when you speak to them in confidence, oftentimes they share really what's happening. What I found out was very concerning." So obviously Jim Irsay, the owner, had some conversations with Colts veterans on the team, and I guess what they shared about Carson Wentz was not very good. So I don't want to sit here and kind of speculate which veterans it could have been talking poorly about Carson Wentz, but obviously some things were said about Wentz that were not very favorable for him. So I don't know if you guys can decide for yourselves which veterans may have said some things about Wentz, but that was a bit concerning as well. Now here's what Irsay said about the trade when Wentz went to Washington. "I think it was really quite remarkable and a great tribute to Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, to generate strong trade interest and get the deal done with Washington. I don't lose the fact that it was a pretty big blessing from the football gods, where we were and where we could be if things didn't materialize to that level. You end up cutting Carson and we'd get nothing." So yes, I guess cutting Carson Wentz was on the table if this Washington deal never happened, which is actually pretty crazy. So for the Colts to get a second and third rounder, I believe the return was, instead of getting nothing, that's a massive W for the Colts. So I'm sure Colts fans are very happy about that. And basically, to sum it up, the final quote was, "For us, the fit just wasn't right. I don't know why. A lot of times you don't know why, but you know it isn't, and it was important for us to move in a different direction." So yes, it seemed like Carson Wentz was going to be a one and done with the Colts regardless. It didn't matter if he was going to Washington or not. It seemed like Jim Irsay was just completely off the Carson Wentz train after this season happened, or after the past season happened in 2021. So whether he was traded to Washington or not, Carson Wentz was not going to be a Colt in 2022. So congrats to the Colts for actually getting a decent return and sending him to Washington. But the fact that they were pretty much willing to move on for nothing in hindsight is actually pretty crazy. So you'll definitely take that deal 10 times out of 10 if you're the Colts. Now, I said this on Twitter the other day, and it's still funny to me because I have never seen a more disrespected quarterback coming off a statistically good season than Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz last year had over 3,500 passing yards, a 27-7 touchdown to interception ratio, and a 62 completion percentage, and people were trashing him like he was one of the worst quarterbacks in football, and you just heard what Jim Irsay said about him. So you have to factor in that the Colts situation for quarterbacks is very favorable with how good the offensive line is. They have some good weapons, of course, with Jonathan Taylor having a great year and Michael Pittman, but at the same time, like, even Kirk Cousins kind of falls into this as well. Like, the amount of disrespect coming off a season like this for Carson Wentz was pretty crazy. So he even added 215 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown as well. So I get why the Colts wanted to go in this direction, but my goodness, like, can you imagine, and I said this in my tweet as well, if Zach Wilson or Daniel Jones had this type of statistical season, like, people would be putting them in the Hall of Fame. Like, it's crazy how, you know, I get it's only numbers and you have to look at the whole thing. There's context to it all, but just looking at Wentz's numbers, he had a pretty good year. But when you really go out there and lose the final 2 games of the year and lose the way you did at Jacksonville in a basically winner-go-home type game, you know why it happened. So it's pretty unfortunate, and I do think Matt Ryan's going to work there as long as they keep him upright. The Colts kind of have some question marks at left tackle right now. They have not re-signed Fisher yet. We'll see what they do at left tackle. I think Dwayne Brown, the former Seahawks left tackle, would be an awesome fit if they can fit that into the salary cap. But anyway, Matt Ryan still has some good football left in him, I would think, at least for one more year. So hopefully that works out for them a bit better than this situation. But there was that graphic of how the Colts have not really had any stability at the quarterback position, going from Andrew Luck to Jacoby Brissett to Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, now Matt Ryan. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody else too. But yeah, there's been no continuity with the quarterback position with the Colts. But anyway, that's going to do it for the video. I thought these quotes were very interesting and entertaining by Jim Irsay. So I've never seen something like that from an owner. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys next time.